I like things to move quickly. I like having conversations with people. I like the face-to-face contact, even if it's on a call, but in person's even better. That's typically been my experience of higher end products. And the speed at which the end result can happen on the higher end products way faster than if I was to set up all the emails and like everything else that has to go with it. So back in 2017, when I first started my first ever website and venturing out into like the entrepreneurial path for the first time, a lot of the information that was available to me at that time, at least what I was being exposed to, this would have been in 2017, seemed to be around like affiliate marketing and or like blogging, which pretty much leaned into info products that tended to be based around a certain price. And that's kind of like that was my entry into info-based products and even service-based products, because I allowed that information that I was consuming to actually dictate my prices, which I'll talk about in a moment. And pretty much what I learned over the last 5 years of selling low-end products and like high-end products, what I consider like five-figure products and above, so $10,000 and up. So yeah, I pretty much ended up buying my first few programs, which were heavily focused on selling ebooks and kind of like not so much weight loss, but it was like health and fitness, because that was kind of the area I was involved in at the time. Health, fitness, weight loss training, like nutrition, all types of just like info products that didn't involve any service aspect of it. And typically like they were pushing to sell or encouraging to sell products that were ranged from like $19 up to $47. I think at that time, the highest info product that I'd sold was probably around the $47 mark. So that was from 2017 up until like 2019. Then in 2019 and beginning of 2020, I became more aware of higher ticket offers and services, which was coincidentally around the same time that I started my agency. And this is kind of what I discovered after having walked both of those paths. I kind of sit here now and say like I have experience with both on one end of the scale and low end of the scale. So I think at one point, one of my tripwires for some of the info products back in 2000 and I would say 17 and 18. Yeah, I mean, I was selling stuff for like $9 and $10 just to try and get like sales at scale. And then fast forward to today, I mean, we're selling services and we have offers that range from like $10,000 up to $15,000 and even more like when clients stay. So I definitely have experience of both. And this is kind of like what I found is selling higher end products. This is just my experience, and I'm sure someone else might have a totally different outlook on this. But selling higher end products for me has been less about the tech stuff and more about having like actual real conversations with people. So these conversations could happen in emails, direct messages, and Zoom calls. That's typically been my experience of higher end products. And I think I've spoken about this in a couple of episodes. The way my agency grew back in the early part was no website, no funnel, like nothing. The way we grew was having actual conversations with people in emails and direct messages. And it's only recently in the last 12 months that we're actually having sales calls with Zoom. And then that's been my experience of higher end products and offers. And then on the lower end of the scale, I've sold, like as I mentioned, anything from like $9 up to $47 and a couple of others just above. But that's been more about automated emails, tripwires, testing different lead magnets, landing pages, and obviously the copy to like suit those pages. What I will say is both require work, and there's no kind of getting around that. Both require input and effort upfront to make sure that, like, regardless of whether you're selling something that's like $10,000 or more, or something that's $9 up to $47, both require upfront work. But for me, I don't especially like the tech stuff. I kind of had to do it in the beginning and just to get things up and running and moving. But for me, the amount of work involved in setting up something to sell a lower end product, again, based on my experience, is a lot more heavily involved in automated emails, setting up different platforms, different software, making sure it all syncs together and the different platforms can speak to each other. All the landing page look good, all the copy is good. Like all of that has to be pretty buttoned down. And it also moves, that aspect of it moves too slow for me. When I'm building something like that, it can take a long time, even if I'm not familiar or know the tech element of it. Even when you have someone come in and help, it still takes a while for the design process to like come together. It's not kind of like done in a couple of days. It can take a lot longer than expected to bring all this stuff together. So yeah, it's not fast, like at least not in my experience, especially if you want it to look good, it's not fast. And it's slow. Like it feels like a lot of work to get things moving quickly. So fast forward today, I like speaking with people. I actually like connecting with people. So this is way more enjoyable for me. And the speed at which the end result can happen on the higher end products. So anything from like $3,000, $5,000 or $10,000 and up. Those typically for me, at least in the last 2 years, I can be part of an end result way faster than if I was to set up all the emails and like everything else that has to go with it. I can have 1 or 2 conversations with somebody via email or direct messaging, jump on a call on Zoom, and then close that prospect as a client. And that can be valued at, a contract value could be anything from $10,000 up to $18,000. So there's a big difference in there. And again, I'm sharing this because it highlights the skill sets that I'm comfortable with, that somebody else listening to this might have the opposite skill sets. They might prefer the tech stuff. They might prefer building the funnels and the tripwires and not so much speaking with people. And I think the reason for me sharing this is to become aware, like what are you better at? What are the skills that you're better at? And just to go back on the point is like, I would say most successful companies, brands, or even service providers, they probably have both. Like they probably have low end offers, low ticket offers, and high ticket offers. And this wasn't like a podcast about knocking one over the other. It's just to highlight as an individual what it is that you're good at. So for me, like I like things to move quickly. I like having conversations with people. I like the face-to-face contact, even if it's on a call, but in person's even better. I prefer that type of process as opposed to the lower end info market and just products in general. And also, I think that there's also a ton of benefits. Like you won't really get, with low ticket offers. Selling something for $19 probably has a very high profit margin, but you have to sell those at scale, like thousands and thousands and thousands, like tens of thousands to make the equivalent of what you would make, selling something that's a higher ticket. Also, with something that costs more, you have the perceived value to clients that are coming in. So you obviously, you don't get that stuff when you're selling something for $19 to $47 or, in and around that figure. The perceived value is a lot lower than something that's like $15,000. So you have that element to add in as well. And also with higher end offers, in the beginning, especially, they will have like a higher profit margins, and you can take the profit from the higher end offers, reinvest that back into your company, build teams and systems around that so you can increase the volume of more high-end offers that you can sell. And again, this has just been my experience over the last couple of years. This is probably like exactly what's going on right now in my agency and some other stuff that we're building. It's like we're mid to high end, and we're reinvesting the vast majority of that back into the company, back into team members, back into systems, back into processes, because it's just going to help set the foundations and build in the long term. And I'm not sure if you have that option selling lower end products, but I do see the value in having both. So yeah, it's probably a good idea to find out what best serves you right now. It actually took me 3 different businesses to figure out what I was better at. And it seems to have worked quite well for me right now. And I see that path continuing. And it probably doesn't need to take you that long, but knowing your strengths is always a good idea, especially if it means getting results for your business faster. So yeah, I hope you found value in this episode, and see you guys on the next episode.